the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Launchpad, another Wednesday evening, and we're here with my co-host, Mr. Kurt Nelson.
What up, dog?
Voice of Reason, Miss Heather Nixon.
Hello.
And myself, Mr. Johnny Rocket Adams. And we have two guests tonight, actually. We have two special guests. Franklin.
2 guests?
Yes, we do. We've
Excellent.
never done this.
We've never done that before.
Well, actually, yes, we have.
Yeah, we had
Billy Burns and Eli Olsen.
That's right. You're right.
We did.
My bad. That was a good show, too.
Yeah, it was. It was fantastic. We have Franklin Edwards from the District 22, Position 2. And later on in the second hour, we're going to have Paul Addis. He's 36th District, Position 2. Anyways, though, we went to the Libertarian cocktail mixer, right? And I actually met with Mr. Addis, Paul, and immediately went home and Googled him. And I did not know he was part of Burning Man. Also, he was a Libertarian candidate.
Really? Oh, he's that guy. I've heard about him.
Right.
What an honor.
Yeah, I know. He's like,
what an honor.
I know, it's crazy.
But unfortunately, he committed suicide.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
Well, obviously not. He's sitting right here with us.
Right.
Oh, different
We have
Paul
Addis.
Different Paul Addis.
And by the way, I met him at remember I was like really ramping up that whole Libertarian mixer thing at the
Yes, right.
Azteca restaurant.
Over in Bellevue?
Yeah. It was pretty cool. And I met I don't know how many people. Paul, say hi, man.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, man. I just want to let everyone know that there's someone here.
Wait a minute, though. We never finished this Burning Man thing, though.
The reports of my demise that were greatly exaggerated, and the whole Burning Man episode. In fact, I was not there.
Well, I met Paul, and I was just like, so we ended up talking. He's similar background. Paul Addis is running for the 36th District, Position 2, which is downtown Seattle. He works for Finance Division of Alaska Airlines. He spent 20 years at Delta in Atlanta, Georgia. And he's also done stuff in the military intelligence.
Yes, sir.
He's been, I think he was in the Army for 4 years, I believe you said. And
we won't be able to talk about that.
Cryptologic linguist.
We don't have a lot of intelligence around here.
Yeah.
We don't need to discuss
Hell no.
that.
I was a glorified eavesdropper.
Right. That's what it means. He's like,
You did cryptology kind of stuff, though?
yeah.
Well, yeah.
He's a cryptology linguist.
Right, we basically listen to the bad guys and figure out what they're doing.
And so did you speak any other languages other than
Korean.
American?
Korean.
Hangul?
Hangul.
안녕하세요.
There
감사합니다.
we go.
매우 감사합니다. Yeah.
Good
담배
job. Good
막주
job.
주세요.
많이 잊어버렸어요.
I know how to ask for cigarettes.
He just called you something bad.
No, that just means I've forgotten a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what that means. So it's going to be a short
you were in
segment
Korea?
here. I was in Korea for a year.
Oh, nice. Where were you stationed there? I was there too.
Down Anjongni at Camp Humphreys.
Camp Humphreys, right. I was on Casey.
Okay, yeah.
Camp Hovey, Itaewon.
Yeah.
Tungdashang, Warrior Base over there.
I can't even imagine you over there, and you came out in good shape. That's a wild place.
Dangerous area for guys like me.
Yeah?
Well, when we called things downrange, it meant the bars.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
All right.
it was like literally fend for your life down there sometimes. It was crazy, man.
I've been drunk 3 times in my life.
And one of them
was in Korea.
Jumped?
Drunk. Inebriated.
What are you talking about?
I've been drunk
Yeah.
What are you
3
talking about?
times. That
Really?
was one of them. It was when I hit my halfway, the 2-year point, and I was in Korea. So the guys from the Iraq Army and the Katusas, which is the Koreans augmented to the U.S. Army.
Right.
The Korean guys, they took me down to the downrange, as Johnny
What did you
said.
drink?
Soju.
Soju.
There was
Remember
a
I
place,
told you about soju.
No,
It's
I
vodka
don't
on
remember
steroids.
It's what?
Vodka on steroids.
Oh, really? Like what, super potent?
Well, but imagine vodka with like water flavor.
Right.
Like it just tastes like water. Right.
I hope
Imagine
I'm
this.
not losing votes right now.
No.
It'll pick
no,
up.
no, it's good
No,
because
this is what we discuss on the Johnny Rocket
no, but
show,
what's
so-
good about this is that most people are going to go, I like this guy because he can talk about this. We don't want politicians.
Well, and he
I went to a
started with-
bar
I've
called.
been-
We want real people.
I went to a bar called 31 Flavors, but the 31 flavors was not ice cream. This was different flavors of soju.
Right. Oh, absolutely. So
I tried most of
soju,
them.
is like you're drinking water all day. You're like, dude, this is cool. You get up, done. You hit the
the
ground.
floor.
Hit the ground. You're done.
All right,
And it's some weird thing, man, because it doesn't affect you like regular alcohol does. It just has a weird effect to you.
And the best part is you're serving your country.
Yes. And
yeah.
And our country paid for that. Thank you very much,
Fantastic.
America. So, man, Paul, really interesting. You lived in Georgia for a while. You have an accent a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mama. So tell us, like, you were a Republican. I know this. Tell me. I mean, come on, talk to us about this.
Growing up down south in the Bible Belt.
Are you a religious guy?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. And my faith is very important to me. However, I try and, as best I can, separate what government should be doing versus what people of faith in their religion should necessarily be doing according to their beliefs.
Absolutely.
So growing up down there, you're probably going to be Protestant. You're probably going to be Republican, at least in my lifetime. Growing up down there, I was heavily Republican, and they kind of mix the two actually down there. There's a lot of kind of feeling, maybe like social pressure to like, well,
absolutely.
You got to be Republican, you got to be Christian, which is a part of it. Now I have a little distaste for, but at the time that was what I knew. So that I was Republican almost by birth. Let's say when I came out here to Seattle 5 years ago, it's different. It's a different culture out here, and honestly, I find at times the people may be a little more. I'm not saying anything bad about the people down in Georgia. I love them to death.
Sure. That's
my people. However, this is a very literate town, let's say.
Right.
And you get out here and you get exposed to different ideas and different ways of looking at things. It was after coming out here that I really first heard about Ron Paul and got into some of his ideology. And that certainly made me look at things a little differently.
Sure. Coming
from the background I came from. And now I've settled squarely in the middle of the two sides of the aisle with the Libertarians.
Mm-hmm.
And
right. Well, that's how I was.
But I did come from I was a PCO. In fact, we got more politically active after we came to Seattle. We were just people that went and voted in November. We voted Republican. We came out here. We actually became more active. And in the Republican Party, I was a precinct committee officer in Snohomish County before we moved and bought our condo down in Belltown.
Right.
So we became politically active, started hearing more about the libertarian ideals, tried to do things within the party, within the GOP. So we joined the Republican Liberty Caucus. My wife and I were delegates in 2012 to the state convention, the Washington State GOP convention. We were Ron Paul delegates and actually got to vote. We were alternates, but people didn't show up, so we got to vote, but we didn't get anywhere near the number of votes we needed to put from Snohomish County anyway,
right.
Put Ron Paul delegates in Tampa at the big national convention.
Wow.
So, but we were very active but I realized that things weren't, I think one of the last straws for me was when I got the email from the GOP saying that their fundraiser dinner theme was going to be the Duck Dynasty.
Right.
So,
right.
After all the controversy.
Sure.
And so I decided, I probably need to go somewhere else.
Well, and that's the thing, like I was telling everyone, Kurt and Heather both know, I was a Republican at one point when I was in the military, especially. But as I got out of the military, I just kind of more defined myself as a conservative libertarian, meaning that I'm conservative, my own values, but I'm libertarian politically. So that's how I kind of identify myself as. I have, me personally, does not dictate law. Exactly. What I believe isn't always the best choice for everyone. And that's what I think is a more logical approach to things. Sure. Where I think there's a lot of Republicans out there who are getting it now. And that's kind of a shame that the Republicans are kind of now getting it, where we've been telling them.
Well, I hope so. I hope they are waking up. I hope.
Well, I think so. And I had this discussion, I can't remember with whom, but I said, the problem is that we need to start, if there's liberty in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, we should support those people for doing the right thing, regardless of what banners they're flying. But the Libertarian is a good medium, I believe, to get the message across, because we all share the same principles. I mean, morality will be different person to person.
Yeah. I think we do share a lot of similar, at least the goals. I mean, I think on both sides, I think the goals are I think both sides would like to see more prosperity. And I think we just have different ways of getting there. I think I would love that everybody could go to a doctor and get taken care of. It's odd to me. It's just one of those thoughts I have when I think about things like universal health care. And I think, well, if I go out and murder or rape someone, and I get arrested, they're going to give me a lawyer if I can't afford one.
Sure.
But if I'm out there working hard every day, trying to, provide for my family and I don't make a lot of money or I don't have insurance, if I get hurt, they're not going to provide for me a doctor. And I understand the ideas of, well, the doctor's got to get paid there. It's a business, but
Sure.
But it's just weird that, we give some things, we expect to get some things, but some things we don't. And I think that we all want that kind of world where people can get taken care of. However, how do you get there and what's the best way to do that?
Well, that remains a question, but all I know is that the government in charge of it isn't the answer.
Exactly. I agree.
I don't like Affordable Care Act at all. I
Right.
think that,
That's what Ellen says.
but I don't think it is because I have not met one person who has signed up for it, except for Heather because she has to because she's a state employee.
No, I have insurance through my job. I don't have to.
Well,
sign
then,
up.
okay. How about you, Kurt? You have it?
I do not.
Okay,
But
Paul?
I do.
I do not. I'm sorry. I do
Okay,
not.
so
I
you
do
know-
say that in my line of work, every day I'm exposed to people that are on Obamacare, but they're not paying for it.
Okay, who's paying?
Is
for it?
that that's funded by the state thing, presumably?
Federal.
Okay.
So you can
Or federal,
it's-
yeah.
Yeah. You can, if you qualify, still get on state Medicaid. There's children's Medicaid still. But the federal program, the Obamacare, is based on income. There's
Gotcha.
choices.
Sliding scale. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do have a friend that has Obamacare. I don't know how he got it or what he pays or all, but I know that he was happy about
You
getting
met
it.
one person.
I know one person
I know
in a city of million.
zero. I don't know anyone. I've not met one person. I've asked people this too. Like I don't like go out of my way. Like, hey, my name's Johnny. Do you have Obamacare? No, but I go out. And
Let's
I'm
go
like,
out into White Center and ask some folks.
I bet you no one does, dude.
Either that or that it's being taken care of for him.
Maybe I don't know. I just find it
I'm
funny.
profiling here, but
speaking of healthcare, I will say, even though the Duck Dynasty thing kind of pushed me out of the GOP at the end, I'm not just running from something. Actually, I had heard Judge Jim Gray, a Libertarian vice presidential candidate,
Right.
talk about some of the solutions that are coming from the Libertarian Party, talking about more universal catastrophic coverage and then some more free market choices for the other plans. So I thought that made a whole lot more sense than the Affordable Care Act. So I thought, well,
course, the
Libertarians
free
are coming
market.
up with good ideas. So I liked that. I didn't hear that coming out of the GOP, and honestly, I see what the Democrats came up with. So
Right. Well, that's amazing. I'm just, you know what? Man, I wish we had our soundboard because I'd get
thus far,
thus far. I think he's just the best president we've ever had since maybe Washington.
actually, I feel sad for the Democrats that voted for him, because I kind of get that same feeling. I voted for Bush, so I know what it's like to have somebody that you thought was going to do something really good, and you'd find out that he's not so much.
Well, but the thing is cool about guys like Gary Johnson, when he was running, Ron Paul, those guys, they have been tried and true throughout their entire political history. They've started on the smaller scale, and they've been consistent. And that's what I think the proof is in the pudding.
If I win this position, in this election.
Well, yeah, and I think it would be cool because what if would you be the first libertarian in Seattle to win?
Wow.
To represent
as far as
Seattle.
I don't know the history
I think you
of
might.
Seattle, but
I think you might be if you do
from
it.
what I've heard of the libertarian history in Washington State, I'm hoping that we get quite a few. I mean, I know we've got 20 or so people that are at least maybe looking for endorsements. Hopefully, at least 20 libertarian candidates in the state. And here's the thing: I know earlier when you were talking with the other guest, you're talking about starting at the bottom. Well, honestly, state rep is not the bottom. And I mean, like for instance, myself, I live in Belltown. We attend the Belltown Community Council. I've nominated myself I was asked to, but also I would like to nominate myself for the vice president of the Belltown Community Council. There are a lot of things you can do from dog catcher on up to president. So state rep, honestly, is a pretty
totally.
big
I was
step
just
for the first.
I was just saying, you can do representative.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go senator in a year or two. Hey, that presidency slot looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Hey, so I didn't mean to cut you off regarding Vegas, or Nevada. Please go on with
Harry
that.
Reid. Yeah, Harry Reid. Let's talk about him, because this is a guy that just called my wife and I a domestic terrorist. Violent. The next a few days later, I think he was on another show where he said we were violent domestic terrorists.
So you were there.
We were there. So what happened was we had been kind of following it. I'd seen some stuff on Facebook the week before that all went down on Saturday. And so my wife had come to my work, and we were at lunch on Friday, the day before the big standoff. And we were following it on the radio. So, radio guy was talking about it. And the Harry Reid story had just broke. As we were listening to the radio at lunchtime, the story about Harry Reid and the Chinese and all that stuff had just broke. So when I was already upset at some of the stuff they had done, tasering the pregnant lady and throwing the cancer patient down on the ground and all that, just because people wanted to look into their truck, their holy truck,
Sure.
They got near it. So I was upset about that, the way they were treating the people there. And when I heard that it basically, all this came from the political corruption, which is the main issue in my campaign, it really set me off a little bit. And I thought, you know what? It's like MLK, I think, said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So while I'm running to represent the people in the 36th district, when I heard about that was, I can't choose where the battle lines are drawn all the time. So that's where I saw it being drawn at that time. And I told Kathy as we were eating lunch, we've got to go. I can't spend this weekend in Seattle, going around doing fun things, knowing that this is going on down there. I just would not have a good weekend. So Saturday morning we flew down there. We got out to the Bundy Ranch at about, 2 or 3, something like that. And the standoff had ended like an hour or two before that.
Okay.
But we went down there with the intention of standing with them in front of all the sniper rifles but we got there and it was already over. But it was nice to be around the people. We were there when Cliven Bundy came up and told the people at the staging area that, we had a victory, we got the cows back and all. It was great to be with those people. And honestly, the rest of the week, I came back to Seattle, and the rest of the week, it was like I was a little more alive than normal. When you're in that situation with people that are doing that type of thing, it really, things come into a little more focus. You're appreciative of things. You get out of that normal routine. So when Harry, it's a long story. What happened there in Nevada, it's been going on that, it's interesting to note that there was another rancher, last name of Hage, who in 93, just like Bundy stopped paying his fees in 93, this Hage guy kept paying his fees, but he told them that he wasn't giving up his land rights and his water rights and his surface rights. So just last December, a federal judge, a U.S. Circuit District judge, ruled in the Hage case that because the BLM did the same thing to him, they ran him off the land, got him, got him from stop being, his ranching, his ranching business, and which was what he was worried about. That's why he told him in 93, I'll keep paying, but I'm not giving up my rights. So whereas Bundy, he just stopped paying because he knew what was coming. Well, this district court, somebody Jones, I think, back in December of 2013, in his ruling in the Hage case, Hage won his case against the BLM, and the judge said basically that the BLM was involved in a criminal conspiracy against the ranchers. That was his words. So I believe that Cliven Bundy has a leg to stand on legally in this. He was not going to pay the fees to an organization that was going to run him off and stop his business that he uses for his life.
So he knew what was going to happen before it was going to happen.
He saw the writing on the wall, and he decided not to keep paying them to put him out of business.
Wow. Very interesting. Wow. You know what? There was so much. There's a lot of confusion though. So all I had was just tidbits that I put together, but looking at it from my perspective originally on the show, when I first started talking about it, I said, "Hey, you know what? Based on what I'm seeing, yeah, they shouldn't have treated the people that way. But from what I'm seeing, legally, they're wrong. And all it is, it's about power, and it's in money and just control. And this is exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, what a lot of people too don't realize. There's a Supreme Court ruling. Basically, when the United States was formed, there were 13 colonies. There was they weren't states. There wasn't a United States. The federal government came into being because the states decided that they would unite. And become the United States. And they gave the federal government some limited powers. Well, since then, other states have come. We've got 50 now. So as
we
you
sort of have Hawaii.
Yeah. As you become a state, since then, since the first 13, see, those states had their own land. They were a colony. They had their land. So when they broke off from Britain, it was their land, and they decided to form this federal government, this United States. But they didn't have to worry about a federal government that was taking their land because they already had the land before the federal government was formed. So subsequent states, the Supreme Court ruled,
The ones out west.
yeah, it would Tennessee on. The Supreme Court ruled that they get what they call equal footing, and in that ruling, they said basically when you become a state, you get the same rights and everything that the first 13 states got, so including the land rights. So that's a ruling from the Supreme Court. Now, Nevada is part of what Mexico and the Hidalgo Treaty gave to the United States, and that's why the federal government said, well, that's really, we got that from Mexico before Nevada was a state. However, when Nevada became a state, it gets the equal footing rights. So the BLM is a formation of a couple of different agencies. One of them is a grazing agency from the Taft Grazing Act, which was really about...
please refresh my memory. BLM?
Bureau of Land Management.
Okay.
So they're supposed to manage land. They don't own the land. They're supposed to manage it. Part of their initial... I
didn't know they were SWAT officers.
Yeah, who knew that you needed that much firepower out in the middle of the desert?
Right.
Hey,
that's some big coyotes out there. I
IRS
guess.
shows up for an audit carrying guns.
Right. AR-15s.
Yeah, well, I mean, who shows up to collect money with guns? That's mafia.
Right.
I mean, that's what that is. I mean, by
exactly.
definition. I mean, that.
Anyway, so hey, this is Johnny Rocket here at the Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with Paul Addis. And make sure you look him up. Do you have a website real quick before?
I do. electpauladdis.com.
Okay, America. Sounds good to me. And we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. This episode of the Johnny Rocket Launchpad is recorded at Tommy Sound, White Center's best and utmost professional recording studios for your sound reinforcement, studio recording, and audio production needs. Please contact Tommy Martin at bambam@tommysound.com, 206-229-7937. Rock and roll from Tommy Sound. The views here at the Johnny Rocket Show does not necessarily reflect the views of Tommy Sound. Johnny Rocket is a libertarian, and Tommy does not necessarily share the same views that Johnny Rocket and the Launchpad crew possess. So if you feel like you are offended by Johnny Rocket's show, Tommy Sound had nothing to do with it. Thank you for your support.
The Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. You probably heard an advertisement from Tommy Sound again. Anyways, we got our special guest, Paul Addis, running 36th District, Position 2 in Seattle, and he lives in Belltown. And you know what? This guy is really passionate about politics, and that, I think that's what we need in the Libertarian Party is people who are passionate and people who want to do the right things and setting the example, which I do believe truly in my heart that Paul has done and is doing.
Thank you,
Paul,
man.
right now, has done a lot of community stuff. Tell us about that. In the past, you've done Meals on Wheels, stuff like that. You and your wife are big contributors in the community and stuff along those lines.
Yeah, well, I think, community is important. I mean, community is going to be there for you. Your community is kind of like your family in a way, and especially, we've come out here from our hometown of Atlanta to come out here to Seattle. We live here now. We love it out here in Seattle. We've been here 5 years. But where we're at, we like giving back to the community, being a part of the community. So, I've done a lot of different things, and I think it's important for people to look for things that they can do and enjoy to give back to the community. Here in Seattle, we've volunteered with the Bread of Life mission down in Pioneer Square.
Very cool.
And they were great. That's a great organization. They do a lot of good. They help guys, get their lives back together, and who are, and
it's voluntary.
Oh yeah. And when we got downtown to Belltown, I guess it's been a couple of years when we had worked with a group down there called the People's Belltown Republic. It's just a loose group of people that like to get out and actually like to hang out and drink in a bar. But before they do that, on Sundays around 3 o'clock, they'll get together and go around and pick up trash in an 8-block area maybe. And so we had gotten hooked up with them and just going around picking up trash for an hour or so on Sundays, and then they'd go to this bar, and this bar would give them everybody a free drink that picked up trash. And
I'll tell you what, right now.
What are we doing on Sunday?
You know what? No, I'll do it. I'll do it just because I like you, Paul. And you know what?
Well,
you know what? We need people like you to lead by example. This is what we're talking about in a candidate. This is the kind of guy we want. We want a guy who leads by example, who does the right thing, and lives and practices what he preaches. There's so many people who give lip service to things. But, Paul, I honestly believe that you are a man of your word. I mean,
you're right. I am passionate, and not just about politics. In fact, honestly, I mean, technically politics can be a little bit rancorous and divisive. So it's more of, I'm passionate about rights and individuals' rights, constitutional rights, property rights, those kinds of things. When I see those things being violated, because honestly, it would be much easier just to hang out in the neighborhood and do good things with good people in the neighborhood.
And it doesn't matter what their political affiliation is.
Right.
As long as you're having fun and you feel like you're contributing back to society.
Sure.
And, and this is why, in a weird way, I mean, like, as we had our guest, Daryl Fortune at NWCZ Radio last week, come on. He basically said to me, he's like, this is our way. Heather Kurtz and our way of giving back to the community. I mean, we're spreading a message.
Exactly.
We could be, we're not getting paid for this. Really, we're not. We're getting because we just want to do it and because it's fun and we enjoy drinking. It's a good excuse to drink, but we also enjoy spreading the message of liberty out there. And we're not hurting anyone. We're in a,
No, I think that's what the alternative media is about. Like you guys, if the mainstream media, so to speak, were doing their job halfway decently, there wouldn't be a need for alternative media so much. I'm really happy that you guys have this and other people that are out there spending their time and effort, on doing things like this, getting the word out that you're not going to hear some of this stuff on your network news.
Well, like another guy, Mac Worley, he's another guy here in, I want to get him on eventually. He's a good guy. Really enjoyed him. I was on his show over the phone. We need to figure out the phone thing, how we can figure that out.
I almost got it covered. I'm on you with that. Okay. The same thing with the soundboard. I'm with you.
But Mac Worley, he's a really cool guy. He's doing the same thing that we are. Basically, great show. It's very informative. But
he's doing his thing.
He's doing his thing, and he's catering to a certain crowd. Our medium's a little different, how we're delivering the message. Okay, so you got a bachelor's in management.
Yes.
At the Georgia State University.
Yes.
Right on.
Has that helped you out in any way, shape, or form?
Honestly, I got my degree a little later in life, in my 30s. I'd done a lot of college and getting credit right after high school, and even in the Army when I was in the Army. And then didn't finish the degree until a little bit later. So I started in my career, you mentioned at Delta Airlines for 20 years. I worked there. Started off just putting mail up on a shelf, some entry-level job. I think I was making about, $10,000, $11,000 a year doing that. And so it was definitely entry-level job. But I worked my way up, basically learning things, gaining knowledge and getting training within the company and working my way up based on merit, more so than just having an education.
Not seniority?
Not seniority, no. And so the degree, I think later on, even nowadays, I think that there are positions in companies that say you have to have a degree, it's one of the requirements. So I think there are positions I've held since then that it did help. But I certainly appreciate the value of being on the job, learning it from the bottom up, gaining that experience.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
And, not just, somebody coming off the street with an MBA that says, hey, let's hire this guy,
Oh, totally, 100%. And by the way, me and Kurt would probably talk about our education, but we're not until we get some sort of endorsement from the Art Institute of Seattle.
Okay.
Yes, I did say that they should be sponsors as much as you guys talk about it.
Yeah, because we talk about them more than anyone else.
They're
it's
out
in
there,
my district.
They're out there firing our favorite instructors, so.
Yeah, well, then we should not support
You heard
them.
about that, right, Jim?
Jim Rivers.
Yeah.
And by the way, Jim Rivers, this goes out to you, brother. Speaking of the Art Institute of Seattle, and he will not have, so do not go to the Art Institute of Seattle because they got rid of Jim Rivers. And Jim Rivers, you're the man. You're a great American. Yeah.
But if you're at the Art Institute and you're in the 36th district, please vote for Paul Addis.
Vote
Indeed.
for Paul. Paul, and you know what? I'll do everything I can to help you out.
The Art Institute is right up the street from you.
It is. I know it.
Oh yeah. And I used to live out there in Belltown. Yeah. So there's a quote, and I just want you to elaborate more on this. 85% of my opponents top contributors are from corporations, special interest groups, and political action committees. But 100% of mine come from my people.
Right. And that I actually just went to the Public Disclosure Commission website today and ran the numbers again, because, you report every week on your donations. And right now, I think it's around 83%. My opponent, and I say my opponent right now is the incumbent, is Gail Tarleton, Democrat.
Oh, okay.
In position 2. And we won't know exactly what all the people are running until May 12th. That's the deadline to file. So after May 12th, we'll know who's filed and who hasn't. So the incumbent, yes. And when I say top contributors, I'm talking about the top, meaning that if they gave $850 or $900 or more, that's the top contributor. So there's about 13 of those people who have given $900, and 11 of them are either corporations, unions, PACs, lobbyists, special interest groups.
Wow. Very interesting.
And yes, for me, that is the main issue in my campaign, is that I will not take money from a corporation, a PAC, a lobbyist group, a union, anything like that. In fact, I will not take money from an individual outside of Washington. I believe that any legislation that I would author or sponsor, co-sponsor, or vote on would affect the state of Washington.
Wow, I agree.
So even though I'm representing technically the 36th district, the legislation I would be considering would affect everybody. So I will take money from an individual in Washington state because I would be affecting their lives based on the votes I cast.
Sure.
So yeah, that's who I take the money from, individual residents of Washington state, not even friends back east and south that would love to give me money, but I don't represent them. They can give me birthday gifts, they can give me Christmas gifts,
right.
But I don't.
If they say, "Hey, this is a gift, it's $200," nudge.
Then he's going to get that new thing that he wanted. It's not toward the campaign at all. He's going to get a toy.
towards his card stereo.
Right. New gun or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't.
That's
see,
admirable.
I don't. That's the principle there. Is that I don't see the link between them giving me money when they are not in Washington. Why would they give me money politically?
Right.
When I don't represent them.
I agree. And I think that's very
awesome.
admirable and very honest. And I know that it's really, dude, seriously. I mean, I believe we've had a lot of libertarians on this show, but I honestly, I'm not saying that those guys don't have it, but I just love your enthusiasm and the way that you really contribute so much. I mean, the other people are good at, they have their messages, and you do too, but what I'm saying is you're really passionate about this. I mean, who the hell gets worried about the Bundy Ranch and goes, "Hey, hon, we're going to go out to Nevada"?
That's awesome, man.
Hey, they're in Alaska Airlines, so I'm sure that was a little bit of a refund.
Oh yeah, no,
kickback there.
Some frequent
We
flyer
fly
miles.
standby. We fly standby for free, of course.
Okay.
Working for the airline, but we have to pay for the rent a car, the hotels.
I thought you were
We couldn't get back on Sunday, in fact, because we were flying standby. We had to get a hotel room for Sunday night as well. That wasn't planned. And just spending your time. But the point is, yes, this stuff, the politics sometimes gets in the way of it, because I could have been out handing out flyers door to door in my neighborhood, in my district on that weekend instead of being there. But you were in the Army. I mean, we took an oath to defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah,
or domestic.
People talk about what is your line in the sand. What is it that would make you stand up to some authoritarian event?
But a lot of people, I think Johnny's point here is a lot of people would sit there in their living room and go, "Man, damn it, that sucks. That's wrong." And that guy, and they'd watch the whole thing unfold on the news, but you went down there and you were a part of it, and even you missed it by 2 hours or whatever, but you were there and you were proactive about it. And I think that's amazing. I really do.
Yeah. And who has? I mean, I say I've got the greatest wife in the world. I mean, speaking of at lunch saying, "Hey, honey, let's go down and put ourselves in front of some federal snipers." I mean, my wife. Not only is she beautiful and smart. She's courageous.
You're getting laid tonight, dude.
I mean,
hey, honey, listen to this tomorrow, next Thursday.
I've got the perfect partner. I mean, who would do that? She's great.
Oh,
so she feels.
Well, I saw your family pictures. I mean, we're friends on Facebook, and you do have a great family. You guys look like you have a blast, no matter where you go.
We do. I mean, we do other stuff. My wife and I. It's like the politics. It almost gets in the way.
You like hiking and
yeah. And I mean, we have another nonprofit. This political campaign as a nonprofit. It's crazy the hoops you got to jump through to do this. I can see why a lot of the average citizens don't want to get into politics, because you got to get a business license, you got to report all this stuff, and if you don't report correctly by the letter of the law, they're gonna throw some fine or put you in jail or something. So so this whole politics thing, it can get in the way of your life. I mean, we would be doing the community stuff. We've got another nonprofit. We do work over in Africa. We do a lot of humanitarian stuff. And we go over there just about every year for the last 10 years, and we've made connections with those people. They're like family to us. They actually do the work. We help do a lot of fundraising here, and then we'll go over there.
Dude, wow. But Paul, you're impressing me every moment, dude.
No doubt.
It's people. I mean, that's what it's about. It's like they were in the Bundy thing. They were pointing snipers at people. I mean, American citizens. I mean, I know that Obama has his kill list, and he uses drones to kill American citizens on foreign soil without due process. But this was in flying distance.
Note to self: do not travel outside the country.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, they were pointing sniper rifles at people, including women and children.
in their homes. Or at their
in their neighborhood it's crazy. So it's about people. I mean, that's what it's about.
Wow.
I mean, liberty. It's about individual freedom. It's not groups of people that have freedom. It's each one of us individually has freedom and has rights. Natural rights, common law rights, private property rights. That's what it's about. So
what do you think? I mean, like, I don't know, like, where do you think this world's coming to? I mean, I just sit back sometimes. I'm in awe.
Yeah.
We have a socialist in our city council.
Yes.
All right. Wow. Shama Sawant, right? Really? Mm-hmm. Really? This is what's coming to America right now. Everything that we had fought for in the military was against socialism. Mm-hmm. It really was. It was against communism. It was against socialism. It was before capitalism.
Right.
Not corporatism, but capitalism.
Right.
There's a difference.
Yes.
But here we are in Seattle. What is this world coming to? Of course, Seattle wants to be the new trend. We're studying a new trend here. It's cool to be socialist. Our country is falling apart in front of us, and no one's doing anything about it. It's like, it's cool. The football game's on. Whatever.
No one except Paul.
Well, hey, I love the Seahawks. Now, don't get me wrong.
No, but what I could give a shit.
Yeah.
They won. Cool. Okay. Yeah, America. If people were invested in politics like they were football games, I swear to God, we would not have any of these problems. People would wake up. I think people would really get it. Because I don't even think people understand economics.
No, I think that people don't act until something's happening to them. And there are people that are, I mean, even myself, honestly, I mean, so saying this, I don't know why I'm so passionate necessarily, but like, we have good jobs, my wife and I, and, we have a nice place. We live down in Belltown, and we could certainly coast and not do anything. There are plenty of people in our situation that they don't see that anything's being taken from them because they can feed themselves. And then there are the people who have a lot of troubles in their lives, and they're getting assistance from the government, and so they don't see there's a problem because they're actually getting something.
Right.
So the
middle class.
Yeah, the people that see things being taken from them. I mean, like the Bundys, for instance. I mean, just one example, but it's the idea that somebody's taking your rights away. I think there aren't enough people that are willing to act that actually feel the hurt. Interesting story. I had a friend of mine back in Atlanta who works in the IT sector, and I had talked to him a few years back about some issues that I thought were happening. Saying, I'm worried about this right being taken, this whatever, and he thought I was kind of a tinfoil hat or something. Oh, you're just worried about things that aren't really real.
You've been listening to Alex Jones.
Yeah. And so then the PIPA and SOPA thing came along, which is the internet piracy and privacy stuff that came. There were legislation that was being considered at the time, and he, being in the IT sector, he was all up in arms about that. He sent out Facebook and stuff. It sounded like me on the other issues where he was saying, "Oh, you've got to call your congressman. You got to do this because we can't let this happen. It's gonna, and because he's an IT guy.
Because now it's personally affecting him.
And I think that that's the way it goes a lot of times until it's affecting you. And I don't know. I think that a lot of it, my perspective, even though I don't like to put it into the politics as far as governing people, but my faith certainly gives me that foundation to feel that. you should consider other people. There's even a scripture in the Bible that says consider others as more important than yourself. And I think that's a basis that you can look at society and say, these people are important,
Well, I mean, I'm not religious at all. I consider myself a deist, but I still have the similar moral code that you do. I mean, I try
wherever
to
it comes from,
I think that people should do the right thing and try to help people out and be all about the community. Because, what you're doing is you're setting the example. You're a leader, and that is what we need in Seattle. Anyways, this is Johnny Rocket here at the Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. We're going to be spinning some tunes.
The Johnny Rocket Launch Pad. And now, here's Johnny.
It's Johnny Rocket. So we have something to say. What is a libertarian? A libertarian is essentially someone who believes in liberty. When the word libertarian is broken down, we have liber, which means liberty or freedom, and tarian, which is a suffix that means believer in. A libertarian is someone who understands that civil and economic liberty provide maximum prosperity and happiness in society. A libertarian believes that liberty will provide us with the most prosperity. Hey, why don't you define liberty?
I agree. What is liberty?
I don't know. You tell me, buddy. 10-4.
Don't know, do you?
I do.
Liberty is the absence. Liberty is the absence of control or oppression over our lives, as long as we are not infringing on the rights of others. And so when I talk to people about libertarianism, which honestly, I know in the 36th district, I talk to people who don't know what libertarian means, and so basically I tell them in a simple way, it's about control. If I tell them, if you think the government should have more control over your life and the choices you make, then you're probably not so much a libertarian. You're maybe more on the left. If you think that you should have more control over your life and the choices in your life, then you're probably more libertarian. And most people will say, well, yeah, I think I should have more choice.
Or do you believe, or, especially in Seattle, but if you go into the South, this is you can do the opposite. Do you believe that the churches should have influence in your political decision? You're probably not a libertarian.
Right.
And which, it's kind of a fine line because, I think there has to be some morality, but it has to be a personal morality. And, but the beautiful thing about politics and government is that there shouldn't be any religion in politics, period.
People want to have the choice. The choices. What kind of, what you smoke, what you drink, what you drive, what kind of light bulb you have. I think people would like to have choice.
What's up with the fluorescent light bulbs debate? What's up with that? I'm getting pissed off at people telling me what kind of light bulbs to use.
Yeah, well,
I'm broke. I can only afford the 99-cent ones that last 2 days.
I have heard that there are people like I believe it was up in New York State somewhere or somewhere. I'd seen the headline of a story where somebody had created a new light bulb that actually got around the regulations, and it wasn't one of those real expensive ones that hurts the environment if you don't give it to the right people to dispose of. But they had actually created a cheap light bulb that actually somehow got around the regulations. So it's that kind of entrepreneurism that hopefully can defeat some of this.
Well, let's hope, because, but of course, those entrepreneurs will be bought by the government.
Sure.
And then, because their buddies are in power.
The free market's trying to get out there,
but
it tries to find a way.
You can still buy old school light bulbs at Big Lots, a 4-pack for $1.65.
I know. I'm just making a point that there's certain places though that are prohibiting the use of the old light bulbs.
Well, I'm just saying
LEDs though, man.
Go to Big Lots.
That's the way to
Tommy
do it.
Sound, we're all LEDs over there. And
speed of sound.
Speed of sound.
Right.
Well, it's still Tommy Sound, the studio speed of sound. But anyway, we just replaced all of our incandescent lights with the LED ones. They cost like each bulb at standard use is like $1.89 a year or something. It's crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
Nuts!
So
That man's nuts.
See, that man's
You have
nuts.
to- you have
Grab
to
'em.
Go to the bank and get a loan to buy them all at once, though.
They
yes.
are, yeah, it's rather spendy. Like we bought, I don't know, 20 of them for $90 or something.
But they'll last forever.
Yeah. They last. I think they have a guarantee of like 18 years or something. It's crazy.
Hang on to that receipt.
Yeah, it'll be. Heather.
I think they're hoping that you forget that receipt and you have it like.
Yeah, but
Remember when I was in here 18 years
there's
ago?
a company that makes microphone cables that's really, really sad that they have that agreement.
Which one?
Livewire, because they have a lifetime guarantee.
Oh,
and
and
so
were
like
they
I
all
take all my
bad?
cables from the central, like once a year, whether they're bad or not, I'll take them all back to Guitar Center and get brand new ones.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, why the hell wouldn't you?
They see you coming.
Yeah,
They're
they
like,
do,
oh,
but that's
fuck.
their policy. A lifetime, unlimited, no questions asked guarantee. So I'm like, hell yeah, new mic cables every year. That's an investment. $20 for a microphone cable for life. I love it.
Was he in the union?
Probably was.
Heather.
Just like
By the way,
Friend.
before we move on to this, I gotta get this
Oh
off my chest.
Lord. Oh
Dude,
Lord.
Paul, just talk to us about unions. All right,
deal.
please talk to me.
I mean, I've got some experience working. Or I've never been a union member, but I've got some close, experience with them. One of my earliest experiences was when I was working at a theater in Oklahoma, my second year in college. And it was a part-time job. I had been a projectionist through high school. I'd learned that trade, and so I was working in a theater that had union projectionists, but I was not. I was just a part-time college student. So there was a night I was working, and there was a movie playing, and there was something wrong with the gears in the projector, and it was breaking the movie. So the people were getting a little restless, and they were thinking about giving them all refunds. But I was able to go in and quickly fix the gear problem and get them and splice the movie back together, and it finished, and everybody was happy pretty much. The problem was because I wasn't union, I got paid a whole lot less, and I was happy with what I was getting paid, And so the next time I came to work, the president of the local projectors union, he worked at that theater, and he was there the next time I came to work, and he told me basically that he didn't want me to ever do something like that again because they were getting ready to renegotiate their contract, and if it looked like somebody like me could come in and do more technical work than some of their projectionists they had that got paid 3-4 times what I was getting paid, it didn't look good for their contract negotiations. So I didn't realize I had done something wrong. I actually thought I was helping out.
Right.
But in the end, I learned a lesson that day that, I didn't know much about unions, and then I kind of got a peek into the world of unions in that sense. And also there were other projectionists there who were only allowed to do certain things. So, when a movie came in, it actually came in like 20-minute reels, and you had to put it all together into the 2-hour movie. And that was a simple job that is really easy to do. But I talked to another projectionist there who was in the union, and they said they weren't allowed to do that. We got a movie come in. I say, hey, why don't you put that together? So, we're not allowed. I'm not allowed to do that. I can only turn the thing on and off. I can't put it together.
That's
They were very segmented in their skill. So in other words, they had to get a lot more people to work there to do the job, because if somebody could do all those things,
it would cost them less, and then the businesses. I mean, which they're not always corporations, but like small businesses that normally are the ones who have to hire stagehands from the stagehand union and things along those lines.
Yeah, so I learned a little bit about how the union worked in that way, and I thought that was a negative look at the union. However,
what it does, okay, go ahead, man.
I will say that later in life, my sister back in Atlanta, she worked for an airline that was just getting started, and they didn't have unions, and so there were a lot of issues about the hours they were working, what they were getting paid, the benefits they had, some safety issues. And so she was a part of a group of workers that unionized. And I remember the backlash she got from the company, the management. And I thought, seeing what she was going through and what she was trying to get, which I thought was reasonable, and the company was really not treating them, I thought, fairly at the time. I thought it was good that they had the opportunity to organize and get some just basic, fairness in their contract. But what I don't, so that was what I thought a positive look at unions in that sense. However, I will say generally now today, what I don't like about unions is that it's not so voluntary. It's a lot easier to get them in than it is to get them out. And I've known people that are in unions.
Sounds like roaches.
Yeah. I've known people that were in unions that would like, that I think, that they would maybe like not to have to be in a union, but they don't have that choice. And so, I don't like that part of it. I wish it was more voluntary.
Well, what I'm saying is no offense, but certain jobs, in my opinion, should be, sorry, but, changing a tire on a automobile in a factory is not a $30 an hour job.
Right.
Maybe a $15 or $12 an hour job. Right. And half the time, their intentions, I'm going to step back for a second. I think the original intent of the unions was fine.
Right.
Just like the original intent of feminism was correct.
Right.
Hey, we want equal stuff. We want to vote. Okay. That's cool. But then they take it to a whole new level where it just gets out of control, gets out of hand. It escalates. Next thing you know, everyone's union.
Yeah.
Well, not all unions are high-wage paying jobs. I mean, for example, I'm in a union at my job.
Sure.
And I'm not making $20-$30 an hour, but I'm required to pay dues. But since I'm not going to be permanent for a year and a half, I'm actually not represented, although I still will pay those dues for a year and a half.
Well, that's not fair.
Or the grocers union. At one time, if you worked at a grocery store, that was it was a decent wage. But the seasoned workers, they renegotiated their contract, and to keep their wage, now when you go to apply to Safeway or QFC, it's like 10 cents over minimum wage, making $10 an hour, but you still have to pay union dues.
Interesting. We need a school. Oh, that's going to cost you $45 million. Oh, okay. And what they'll do is the union will take that money and they'll give those little guys there at the bottom their $30 an hour, but the guys on top are banking. And if you went to a private non-union thing, go ahead.
The people at the union, they all drive brand new cars that are paid for by the union with our dues. They go on lunches on our dues.
Right.
They're living a pretty good life, and yet
they're criminals.
Yeah,
it's mafia.
They can end up, like the corporations that they demonize, and they end up kind of running their own little corporation.
Exactly
on the backs of the people. And I think too, you're hitting on another issue that goes just beyond the unions as well. When you talk about, the feminist movement was started with good intentions, the unions were started with good intentions. The environmental movement was started with good intentions. The Tea Party was started with good intentions. Occupy was started with good intentions. And I think what you see in things like that, and I think it's dangerous and it's good for people to watch out for.
Good intentions.
Yeah. Good intentions are great. But anytime you have some type of a movement or a cause, like if it gains traction and starts getting some type of clout or power or, behind it.
Even the Libertarian Party could become.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there are interests out there that are ready to co-opt it. So you've seen these movements like the environmental movement, the feminist movement, the Occupy movement. I mean, Kathy and I were out with 3,000 people downtown Seattle with the Occupy Seattle deal when they were the day that they marched against the banks. And we were right down there at Westlake, with them because we have a lot of issues about, some of the way things work in the financial industry. And but those movements, like I think Ron Paul, was one of the grandfather of the Tea Party. Well, look, now it's being cast as some kind of racist, crazy people. Tea Party is like a bad word now, and there are a lot of people from the establishment GOP that have jumped in there and tried to co-opt it because they saw that it was gaining some momentum, and that happens a lot with those types of movements. So the unions, like you say, the reasons that they started are still out there, but I think in a lot of ways they've been co-opted by these other interests, and so there's a lot of stuff that isn't doing right with those unions.
Absolutely, and I just came up with a quote, and this is beautiful. I just thought of this while you were talking to me. The Libertarian Party is like a rock band that has not sold out yet. All right, and that is really.
That's why you're the genius of this whole outfit. You can take something complex and make it simple, and that's what genius is all about.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. No, but I agree 100% what you said. There's some good things about it. I understand that the unions have given the workers an 8-hour day. They've done a lot of really positive things. But, again, I think we're beyond that time. We're beyond that. I think most people expect Saturday and Sunday is off now. So I think we've come beyond that, where I think that if we didn't have unions, I think if there is unions, it should be 100% voluntary.
True. And well, the principle I think here is if a corporation has gone bad, so to speak, that they're treating people bad, then they should have the right to form a union. However, by the same principle, if a union has in some way gone bad and they're not actually helping the people, then they should be easily voted out. And
absolutely,
the same principle applies to the corporation that applies to the union.
Exactly, and I think it's kind of a checks and balances within our society. It's like if we have a law. Pickens made a good point. He said that we should have a law that's reviewed every 8 years. So if we created a law in Washington State and it's bullshit, and we voted it in, and we say, this ain't working out for us, we should be able to vote that again after 8 years.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, because then that gives us an opportunity to say, hey, is this really working? That's fair.
Or was it necessary at the time and maybe not so much now?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a good principle. And in fact,
the same thing with the unions. I mean, is this necessary? Do we have to be stuck with this shit now that we have joined it? It was good for its time. It served its purpose. Now can we move on from it? Because I think the world has evolved in a sense.
Yeah, there's an issue coming up in Seattle, probably going to be on the ballot this year, about you may have heard about the Metropolitan Parks District, where the parks they don't have, the levy that they have is running out, so they need some more money. So there's this idea of a district as being, to form a district just to collect taxes from the property tax from the people who live there, and the money would go to help the parks. Now, the difference between a levy and something like that is the Metropolitan Parks District theory is that the Seattle City Council would actually be the board of the district, and it wouldn't ever go away. Whereas with a parks levy, it is for a specific amount of time, say 6, 8 years, whatever it is, and the money you have to tell the voters ahead of time what the money will go for. It's earmarked for those things, and the people vote on it, say we want the money to be spent for these things over this amount of time, and then it's over, and then they have to vote for a new levy later. So same principle. I would be more on the side of the levy just because it gives the people a little more control. Whereas if you create this district and now you just give the Seattle City Council the control and it doesn't go away, and then they talk about that they have to consider disbanding it if 10% of the people say they don't like it, but that's just consideration, not that they actually have to disband it.
Sure.
So it may never go away, and it's a whole lot more money coming into their purse, and I think less control from the people. So again, it's that what you're talking about, that Michael Pickens idea of laws that end, kind of in the same vein of a levy that ends, and then you vote it again if you like it.
Yeah, and if you like it, you can keep it. I was waiting for somebody to jump on that one. If you like your health insurance, you can keep it.
You can keep it.
Speaking of health insurance, it's been about 20 minutes since we talked about it, and I still haven't signed up for Obamacare. How about you, Kurt?
You know what? You said, I believe it was in last week's
I think it was 20 minutes
the
ago.
last episode, that it's not called Obamacare.
Oh, Affordable Care Act.
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah. I call it Obamacare because I don't like it.
I think we made an oath in that act that if we didn't like anything, we were just going to put Obama in front of it.
Like the Obama phone.
Right, the Obama phone.
Right. That must be Obama law.
Right.
Just throw an O in front of it. Hope. I hope this works.
I hope it works.
Uncomfortable silence. Okay. Anyways,
right.
This is
that
Johnny
was the
Rocket.
Obamacare.
Yeah, yes, Buffett. Anyway, so this is Johnny Rocket at the Launchpad. We're going to play a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
The Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
It's Johnny Rocket here at the Launchpad, launching ideas in your direction. We're going to do a quick last segment, but we just got to knock some things out of the park here. We were just discussing the Captain America movie. Hey, man, talk to us about that. Tell us about the new Captain America movie.
The new Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
I did not
movie.
see it.
You should see it. You would love it. And all liberty-loving people would love it. I found it interesting before I went to see it. I'd seen an article in a paper talking to, I think, the directors or producers, they were the people that made the movie, and they were saying that well, first of all, they always like to put some kind of current topic into these movies. You remember back like Rambo 2 or 3, where he was
First
fighting
Blood.
the Afghan
Sure.
people, the Russians
totally.
and all. I mean, so they always try in those movies. They always try and put some kind of current thing into it. Well, these guys, who I believe were actually, liberals, I mean, who I think had supported Obama for president, they were very upset, or are very upset with where the administration's going with the kill list, the drone strikes, in foreign countries, killing Americans on foreign soil, as I mentioned before. They're upset about the NSA spying program. So they're upset about a lot of things that are going on in the administration now. And that movie brings in a lot of those issues. And Captain America is standing against it. He makes some great, statements in the movie, like, something like, well, I'm standing for freedom and liberty. And if I'm the only one, I'll still stand for it, but I don't think I'm the only one. And he talks about how this is not, this is not freedom. This is holding guns to people's heads. This is not security.
Wow.
And so it really touches on those issues that libertarians love to talk about, and it does it in a great, entertaining way. So yes, you would love Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
America. And I just love the Marvel franchise. I remember the comic book, and they played, Anthony Stark. He was a booze hound, man, and he had problems. He had issues. And Marvel, the difference between Marvel and DC is DC is this happy land where everyone's perfect, right? DC Comics, I don't know, Green Lantern, Superman, Batman, except for Batman. He was the only one in DC who wasn't perfect.
Yeah, he was. Well, in Batman, the recent Christopher Nolan series, the Dark Knight trilogy, he had, I think it was in maybe the second one where they were going after the Joker, and he used all the
Cell phones, right?
to locate people and could hear everything. It was basically a picture of what the NSA is doing to us, and but they were showing us, we have to do this to be good.
Right.
I mean, to fight the evil, and then we'll destroy it later. But we need to do this for our safety. So it was kind of those same lines. He was a little darker than Captain America. Probably would not go into that.
Oh, absolutely wouldn't. All these guys had issues in Marvel, and that's what made them a little, I think, more appealing because they were real.
Yeah.
Every character except for Captain America was kind of, he was kind of. It was kind of one-dimensional for a long time.
Yeah.
I think they slowly started making them a little more 2D. But, but again, I don't know why we're talking about comic
Well,
books.
I think that people
though.
may even look at libertarians as being one-dimensional in the sense that we're very principled, or we should be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Captain America gets that one-dimensional. He was very principled, and it was some very basic principle, American way, free justice, freedom, the American way.
He was a Truman Democrat, really. I mean,
Yeah.
if you really look at Captain America, he was kind of a Truman Democrat, where like Iron Man was a Republican. Yeah. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
He was a capitalist. Anyway, so there's a lot of, but another thing, really one last thing before we go, is we were also talking about how Star Wars, my favorite movie of all time,
Yes.
R2-D2, not my favorite.
Here in the studio with us today.
Also known as Kurt Nelson. And we have Princess Heather here.
Hello.
She brought the Force.
Hello.
She brought the
I would play the Jar Jar character, but I don't want to lose another 2,000 voters.
There you go.
But we were also, because every time, before I even got into politics, I watched Star Wars and I thought it was a great movie. But then as I watched it, especially after seeing the prequels, hints at libertarianism in the whole saga, where you have a republic. Think about it. United States.
Yeah.
Then it falls due to wars and control and more power and fear through power. And then it goes to an emperor. And next thing you know, they have a rebellion. All right. And then there's a lot of libertarian themes in that, though.
Yes.
Please explain, Paul, because I know you have to chime in on this.
Well, yeah, I think it was in whichever one it was in the prequels where they went in and killed all the kids in the Temple of Jedi
episode
or whatever.
3.
Yeah, and they were really the leader, the Palpatine was taking power through those terroristic acts, and now he's got to bring the Empire together to have this ultimate control. And he gave a speech in front of their Senate or whatever they call
Senate.
it, and he was telling people, we have to have this rule. You've got to give me power. it kind of harkens back to what happened in Germany with the Reichstag fire, where they blamed it on some guy they found in the alley, and Hitler used that terrorist event to take power.
Well, it's called the red false flag operation.
Exactly. So basically, what
and there's like a lot of theme though, like Vader looks all the officers look like German Nazi officers. I mean, there's a lot of symbolism.
So it's a similar thing, and what we see after 9/11, the Patriot Act comes into play, and they're taking more control for our safety, giving up our liberties for security, so to speak. And that was kind of the theme there, how the empire came to be. So yes, I agree. It was very libertarian.
Well, like I just find the libertarian thing I find though is the fact that there's the rebellion,
right,
and they're smaller, but yet the rebellion eventually conquers. But yet the rebellion becomes the new republic, and then the new republic becomes corrupt, and then again it's just a system that just the rise and falls and the rise and falls, and everything that's based on one thing that's good eventually corrupts and eats itself and falls.
We talked about it earlier, the interest that co-opt a good movement, and it can happen with a good republic that we once had in this country.
We don't. Apparently everything, I've never heard anyone say, hey, I'm glad I live in the Republic of the United States. No one says that. They say, I'm in a democracy.
Yeah.
No, we're not in a democracy. We're in a constitutional republic.
You pledge to the flag and the republic for which it stands.
One nation under God.
If they still do that.
Indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Right. I had to do it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I had to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Did you?
Yes.
Heather?
Well, yes, way back in my day, yes.
Like, what does that mean?
Way back in the roaring 20s.
She was a flapper. There's a flapper girl. Flap, flappity, flap.
Because I'm the old one here.
Old one.
Oh, Sonny, I'll tell you, when I was your age, we didn't even have a flag. We had a stick in the dirt. It was good. We liked it. Anyways, this is Johnny Rocket with the Johnny Rocket Launchpad. We had two awesome, amazing guests. Paul Addis.
I'm just so grateful to be here.
He's a Burning Man guy.
He's not, for the record, he's not the Burning Man guy.
I denounce all the activities of that Paul Addis as it relates to the Burning Man and his own suicide.
Okay, no, you're not the burning guy. Okay. Paul Addis, 36th District, Position 2 in Seattle. Hey, man, seriously, an absolute pleasure. We had a blast tonight.
Thank you. It's fun. And,
wow, this was fun.
I want to shout out to all the libertarian candidates that are putting the effort forth out there in Washington State. Special thanks to Michael Pickens, the executive director of the Libertarian Party of Washington. And he's really been a great inspiration, motivation, and impetus for all this that's happening. So, but all the guys are out there doing it.
By too.
Good luck to all you guys out there, and keep working hard.
Yeah, dude. Seriously, see, Michael Pickens is a good guy, and he good man. He has good ideas, and we need that, and we need men like you, man, who lead by example, Paul.
Well, they're out.
And so, and this is what we need in this party. So, this is Johnny Rocket here at the Launchpad with my co-host, Mr. Kurt Nelson.
Yes, sir.
The very quiet voice of reason tonight, Miss Heather Nixon.
Yes. Good night.
You guys have a good night, or I don't know what evening. This is Thursday.